Good evening, everyone. I'm Bruce Dumont, president of the Museum of Broadcast Communications, and I thank you very much for being with us for our evening with Bob Saget. He's going to be talking about his new book, Dirty Daddy. I think some of you already have your copies. If you don't, they are available for sale right over here at the end of the evening, and Bob will also autograph them. And if you've already bought one and you want to buy a few more for gifts, I'm sure Bob will not mind that at all, and he'll autograph those as well. This evening, we are very blessed in bringing not only a legendary American television performer with us, and you will hear from him in a few moments, but we are also very pleased tonight to have one of Chicago's best radio personalities. He's been a personality in Chicago for many, many years in the afternoons on WLS. He started in this town in 1986, and he reminded me moments ago that we first met when he was 11 years old. It's a long, long story, but again, he's been a friend. That's more than 20 years ago, at least in my mathematics. But again, he is a pro's pro. He also is on Windy City Live. But again, he's holding forth in the afternoon on WLS and doing a great job. Please welcome to the museum from WLS Radio, Rokon.
This is not about me tonight. This is about my very dear friend, Bob Saget, who actually personally asked me to do this with him tonight for reasons that are still completely a mystery to me. Ladies and gentlemen, before we introduce him to the stage, a very important documentary piece about Bob Saget.
Bob Saget.
I gotta go on.
I'm sorry.
I got people to entertain.
Who the fuck was that guy?
Bob Saget, bitch, you better act someone.
You rollin' with Bob Saget. Numero uno, nobody does it better. You rollin' with Bob.
Hey, Bob Saget. Oh, this'll be fun. Baby beluga in the deep blue sea. You swim so wild and you swim so free. Heaven above and the sea below, and a little white whale on the go. 2, 3, 4. Baby beluga, baby beluga. Is the water warm? Is your mama home? There was an old farmer who sat on a rock, stroking his whiskers and shaking his fist at his neighbors who sat on their ricks, teaching their children to play with their kite strings and marbles in the old days of yore. Along came a lady who looked like a decent young lady and walked like a duck. Said she discovered a new way to bring up the children, to sew and to knit. The boys in the stables were shoveling up contents of stables left after the hunt. The carman was feeling a nice piece of straw from the stables, cleaning the walls. In came the dairymaid to play with his dog in the dairy where she did belong. If you think this is dirty, well, you're fucked.
Bob Saget.
Rokon. Give Rokon my new best friend forever. What's really odd is that last song is in the same key as Baby Beluga. It's exactly the same key.
Amazing work.
It's upsetting.
I got to ask you, Dave Coulier, of course, your co-star. That's the guy who's spitting out the water there.
That's a talent.
That's a prosthetic, isn't it? Or is that
he can do that. He used to in his stand-up. He's from Detroit. And I met Dave when he was 17, and that's one of his tricks that he can do. He can hold water in his mouth and squirt it out for minutes.
Wow.
Exactly.
Welcome to show business, ladies and gentlemen.
It's almost like the Gong Show kind of talent. And he would turn around and to make you laugh like a parlor trick. He would face you. You wouldn't see him doing it, and you would see water coming down from between his legs, ruining the carpet. And then he just keeps doing it, and he stops the flow, and it's terrible. It's like he's peeing. It's like he's marking his space.
Does he do sort of the middle-aged man where it goes and stops like that?
Exactly what he does.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah,
and he pretends he's tapping. All time terrible things. He's getting married, Dave Coulier. And
this is
in
true,
July.
right?
Yes, and you're all invited, actually. And he's marrying a girl that has no sense of smell, which is the truth. And he has a farting problem. That's a true story. That's true. That's 100% true.
They
Thank
are
you
the-
for doing this,
They
by
are the
way.
perfect match. Thank you for
What do you want me
asking
to do for you? Anything you want me to do? I'll paint your house,
That'd be good.
siding,
Actually,
aluminum siding.
a large check would work too. My question for you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. So Dave Coulier and John Stamos, and we'll just start with this because we're going to get to the book. I've spent all day with Bob hacking this book for him, and this is an amazing piece of work, by the way. And I know pretty much everybody in here has bought it. If you haven't bought it, you got to buy it. It's there's some very interesting things in here, but some of the stories that I think are particularly telling, obviously, are those about Full House and those about sort of what you do is you intersect the issues of celebrity and what that experience was like. Everybody kind of already knows that what the show was like and what that's all about. But it's the human being who has to go through that journey, right?
Yeah, and a lot was happening personally for everybody while the show was going on because life happens, and we were on 8 years, and it was a pretty wonderful experience. When I started that show, I had one child, and then now I have 70 all over the country. 2 of them I talked to.
How many names do you know?
Names of the children?
Yeah.
We numbered them after a point.
Good plan.
2 letters and then all numbers. THX1147 is one of them. I had
All the geeks just laugh, but okay, go ahead.
I'm going to sweeten this afterward in post. That's adding laughs. Thank you, sir. You're the best. I'm really glad you traveled all the way here.
Right in the front row, perfect for us. Go ahead.
I'd had my one daughter, my ex-wife had. She was not my ex-wife when I had her because that would have been difficult. And well, I guess we could. Okay, I'll try to stay linear. And then when I did Full House, I all of a sudden had these television children, and we didn't know the show was going to last. And Ashley and Mary Kate were 9 months old when I met them.
Wow.
And Jodie Sweetin was 4 years old, and Candace Cameron Bure now, who hopefully kicks butt on Dancing with the Stars any minute, she was 9. And so I had these 3 daughters in television, and then I started to I had 3 daughters in real life. So by the time the show went off the air, I'd had my youngest. My daughters are now 27, 24, and 21, which is also my locker combination, if any of you need to get my socks. But the miracle of the whole thing was the family. Dave and I had met when he was 17 and I was 22 as stand-ups. And Dave had no place to live in L.A., and we had a mutual friend. Dave was from Detroit. We had a mutual friend, Mike Binder, who's a filmmaker and a stand-up. Really
Had
great.
his own HBO show for a number of years.
Yeah,
Few years.
I directed one of those, Mind of the Married Man,
Yeah.
it was called. It was a good show. Mine was excellent. And that's what my mother would say about me. You're excellent. Okay, who else saw it? Just me, Bobby. But Mike said Dave Coulier needs a place to stay, and I just met him, and Dave stayed at my apartment in Palms, which is a small little suburb of L.A., and I had a 1-bedroom apartment, and he stayed there for a few weeks, which is exactly 10 years later the premise of Full House. Stamos I had not met. I had not had the pleasure of being in front of his mullet. And as the show continued, we went through all this stuff together that life has. Dave, I lost a sister to scleroderma. Dave lost a sister to cancer. We lost them right around the same time. Just a couple months ago, both of our mothers passed away at the same time. So I think it's the timeline of life, and as you get, well, that was unusual, unfortunate, youthful loss, our sisters. And even during the show, I mean, John, right after the show, John lost his dad and asked me to officiate his father's funeral because we're very close. And it was a Greek funeral, and it was 4 hours long. And it was a lot of laughing and drinking and plates getting broken. It was like a Full House episode that would not end. And everybody's yelling, "Hoppa!" and everybody's drinking ouzo, and everybody's drunk. And I'm just going, our next relative is all the way, I'm from Greece. And then they do the dance. And so it's been a lot of, that became family. It became,
Why do you think that is? I mean, I mean to interrupt, but why?
No, you
is it-
should. I've just talked for 12 minutes.
Why?
I mean, how are you going to get to question number
I know.
2?
Well, and
Hope
we
you
will
guys-
have questions. You get to come up here. It's really big, by the way. When you you're breaking the show business.
Hope you guys aren't planning to watch Letterman tonight. This is going to take a while.
Yeah, it's good. Right? We're only here for the next 4 hours. Don't worry about it. We're good. But talk about that. Why do you think that this cast got along as well as they did and continues to be friends, whereas most casts hate each other's guts?
And they don't want to be with each other anymore. I think some casts don't feel that way. Like I know the people on The Big Bang Theory love each other. There's a few people of casts that really are healthy that way, that they realize the tree opened up. It's a gift. You don't win the
Right.
lottery on money like that. Forget that, fame. Those things, all that really means anything is doing something that's worthwhile. And then the rest, if it all comes, then you're lucky, and then it's a gift.
Is it a part of being together before it starts? I mean, the Friends cast sort of historically was together and then apart and together and apart. I mean,
Right.
is it because you all grew together, do you think?
Yeah, and it's also because they were kids, and as irreverent as I was, and in the book, there's stuff about Full House because you want to sell books, and HarperCollins said you want to sell books.
Well, if you want to sell books, there's some shit in here you really shouldn't read, but okay.
but it's very readable. I couldn't, but I had this quick sidebar. It'll only take 40 minutes.
Go ahead.
I co-hosted The View one day because everybody here probably has co-hosted The View at some point. And they asked me to interview E.L. James, who wrote 50 Shades of Grey. They asked me.
Oh, I know why.
So I had to read 50 Shades of Grey. It's going to be a really long story, but I'm going to shorten it. I got 40 seconds left of it. So the book's this big, and I'm on the plane, and Ed Asner, who has been in these hallowed walls, he's Lou Grant, he sees me, and he goes, and pardon my French, "What the fuck are you reading?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "What are you reading?" I said, "It's 50 Shades of Grey." He goes, "What the fuck are you reading that for?" It's in front of people on a plane. I said, "I'm interviewing the lady that wrote it tomorrow on The View." He says, "Okay, good to see you, Bobby." Then he kisses me, sits in front of me, farts, has a Bloody Mary, and passes out. I'm reading 50 Shades of Grey. I'm like, oh, skim that. Oh, there's a relationship. They love each other. I can't wait for the third book to come out. I am on The View the next day, and I had a really good joke, and it's a real tent pole of my stand-up. I said to E.L. James on the air, I couldn't put your book down. It was stuck to my hand. So that was my sidebar. Back to the cast that loves each other.
Yeah, again, Bob, how do they love each other?
Well, I think because they were kids. I think this sidebar happened because I was thinking of the irreverent stuff I did not do. The kids didn't know a lot of it, but as they got older, they became women, and they knew. I've talked to Ashley and Mary Kate about it. They knew that stuff was going on. They knew that we were laughing about something, but we weren't using bad words. I wasn't cursing, so everything was done in code. And Dave was the one that really messed up the place by farting on everyone. There was a gag reel, an outtakes reel, where Ashley, Mary Kate, and Jody were only about this tall, and Dave's butt was right here. And there's a lot of extra outtakes of them going, "Dave made a stinky." So that to me was the biggest violation that was done to anybody on the show.
I think what we've learned is Dave Coulier is the luckiest guy in the world. I think it's what we just learned.
It's also got to clean out, apparently.
Yeah, apparently he's got some issues. I think there's medicine for that. I don't know. All right,
He doesn't want to take it.
apparently not.
I told him just to plug it up with wax. I don't know.
But the kids all turned out okay too. You know, there's so many.
And
bad-
there's a lot of stuff that people write and want to make up and go through. If you're famous, which is a strange thing to aspire to be, and Ashley and Mary Kate were 9 months old, so they didn't go at 4 months, I want to be on a sitcom. They were on a show, and rarely does it happen ever, to my knowledge. Little Ricky, was it the baby Little Ricky that became Little Ricky? And Rusty? Same, all these.
This is the curator of the museum, apparently, right here. But Little Ricky,
Little Ricky he wasn't their child. He was an actor, right? But he started a couple years old. Well, this is, I need to get your information. We need to keep in touch. This was a really unusual case because it doesn't happen that often where infants, and Jodie Sweetin was incredibly talented. It was just the reason we stayed friends is I have a thing where I don't like to have disingenuous moments in my life because so many people, and that's what the book is kind of about too, so many people have left my life that I want it to count as much as it can. And so I didn't want, and I worked with other kid actors, young people actors on other shows that didn't last 8 years, but I did one Raising Dad and one Surviving Suburbia, and I still communicate with those kids. Raising Dad was Kat Dennings,
Right.
Two Broke Girls, and Brie Larson, who's a big actress now and really successful singer, and those are my TV daughters in another incarnation. And I love being real with people and not adding to the stuff that just smears people up, you know.
Let's talk a little bit about the loss piece because that's such a big part of the book. What you're doing in this book, which makes it unique from most comics books. I mean, you've got, and there's some great sellers. You know, obviously Chelsea Handler's book. It was all about her martinis and her vagina, and then there was.
But that's what's weird is that's where she makes them. That's
Yes.
very odd.
Yeah.
And when she says shaken, not stirred, it's
Yeah.
really, you got to flip her.
Yeah, big deal.
You know.
Big deal. But what you're doing is, as opposed to like trying to glamorize it, you're actually talking about the pain in your life and why that informs your comedy.
And I think most of the comedians that I love throughout my life that affected me the most, well, Groucho was kind of the guy that I looked at, but that didn't seem to come from pain. That just came from wise Alec, get out of stuff, you know. Why, I never, of course you never, you know, that attitude of Peck's bad boy or something. But then the people that, I mean, Lenny Bruce and then Richard Pryor, people that hit my core more. And there's, I mean, Bill Cosby's definably maybe the greatest living stand-up, but Richard Pryor for me was that hit my insides more. Rodney Dangerfield was a friend of mine, and I officiated his funeral, and I was close with him. He started me off, and he was had a lot of heaviness. He was, you know, most of the people that I knew that were incredibly, and still know to this day, that are incredibly funny are very troubled people. And pain, the reason they go to comedy is to hold a mirror up for people. I mean, probably the best comedian, one of the best, Louis C.K. is probably the bar right now. And there's a lot of, why is this happening? You know, there's anger and angst, and loves his kids, and it's simple stuff sometimes, the most simple stuff.
Sort of fear. You go
It
back
is,
to
it is fear.
Pryor, one of Pryor's greatest bits is about growing up in a whorehouse as a child.
In Peoria.
In Peoria.
I went to it. They had
Well-
great people there.
Yes. And seriously, the best buffet ever.
Ironically, it's all, oh, never mind.
All right. He was going to say seafood, but it doesn't matter. So the point is this, that it comes from that. It's this, for him at least, and I think for a lot of young guys our age, literally, I like to say young, but guys our age, I mean, we grew up on those records, and we got a sense of it's okay to expose that pain, and that's what you're doing in the book. That's it. You tell these horrifying stories. Your parents lost 4 children.
Yes.
4 of the 5 children. You're the one surviving child that they had. And
That's the good news and the bad news.
right, but I mean that's, and it
2
was about
years-
your dad. Tell that story.
The one about with my dad's
Well,
joke.
what about the one where, I mean, just explain.
I'll explain the loss real quick because I
Yeah.
think I just threw a gauntlet down. And I do it cavalier because of all this press. And thank you, by the way, for all your graciousness. You've promoted me 97 times. I mean, I'm going to have to give you a piece of this book.
That's
How's
what
the
I'm expecting.
barcode?
I mean, 12%.
My parents, before I was born, had twins that didn't survive, and they were healthy kids, and they were born exactly the same day as I was born 2 years before I was born. And it was a hospital in Philadelphia, had dysentery, and 7 or 8 babies passed away. So, and they lived 7 and 8 days old, and they didn't know that there was a sickness in the hospital. So that happened. But my 2 older sisters were born 4 years and 8 years before they were born. And then they passed away, one at 34 of a brain aneurysm, and then the other one passed away at 47 from scleroderma about 20 years ago, 20 years ago. And so it was a lot of damage that my parents went through. My father lost, it was just an unusual amount of death. My father lost 4 brothers. One was 37, 40, 42, heart attacks, and so I never get myself checked. But the humor that came from that was gallows humor. It came from survival. There's a chapter called Surviving Stand-Up. There's a chapter called When One Door Closes. The 10 years theory, how everything takes 10 years longer than you think it should take or you want it to take. And it was all stuff that my dad yoded to me over the years. We were standing near an ice machine, and I think that's what you were alluding to, and there was a big, like 200 pounds of ice dropped, and he went, "There's your grandmother." So it was just, it wouldn't be funny, but if you were right there, right when it happened, and this sweet old man said the joke to you, he always seemed old to me. I don't know, he's probably 50. But it broke the tension, and it broke the pain. And I've gone too far with it sometimes with my R-ratedness. Sometimes, I think years ago when it first started, I'm not that guy on that, because people think if you act in something, that you're that person. Which, again, Hannibal Lecter is a good example. Anthony Hopkins does not eat people.
Really?
That's it. Conan said the same thing. Conan says he does eat people.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't think so.
So do you? So to that issue, when you had to go out on your stand-up prior to doing Full House, before you booked that show, and that was just a pilot. We actually didn't even do the pilot. You booked the show. Another guy did the pilot, right?
Another guy did the pilot, and then I became available. I was one of the 2 choices. They wanted either Paul Reiser or myself, I believe, and Paul got the other thing, my 2 dads. It was 3 Men and a Baby was the premise of it,
Right.
and I was doing a show on CBS called The Morning Program, and I got fired. I told that story today. Did that scare you
Okay,
guys
can
at all?
let me just tell a little story here because we've spent all day together, and
I liked spooning at the hotel with you.
That
I
was
enjoyed.
nice.
I didn't
And then
know
I said
that
I got to
movie.
get up and do the radio show, so that was bad.
What's with that adults only channel? What's that? Thanks for getting the 24-hour service,
You're
by
welcome.
the way.
You're welcome. And the Rohypnol, I thought you took that well. But here's so we were on When to See Live today, and When to See Live, of course, on ABC, and that's pretty family friendly, and it's morning television, and
I liked it.
But it was very, very genuine about this because you understand morning television. There's some stuff you can say there, get away with it, others you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And how you got fired from the CBS morning show? How long did you do that?
I did it for 5 months.
Exactly. How many years? 5 months.
It lasted 9 months.
Yes. So
It was the hummingbird of television.
And as you know, CBS has had some trouble getting that morning show exactly right. Now they apparently
They gave it to the entertainment division for 9 months, and then they
Right.
said, and we were at West 57th Street, so they give it back to the news. They were not happy,
and
and they were right.
Yes, I'll bet that's true. So and you were doing that, and what's interesting to me is what it was that really kind of put them over the top.
I had that 2 hosts who I just heard from the other day. I did a book signing in New York. Sorry, just feeling your pain for a moment. I was Marriott Hartley just said hello to me through a bookstore, and Rollin Smith, a New York newsman, they were hosting the show, and she said to me on the air, I was like the 3rd host. Sidekick, they called me. That's not good if your term is sidekick.
Don't I know it?
Right? You're not a sidekick. No, you're the
I've
main
killed
guy.
a number of them.
Sidekick, got it, need it,
Yeah.
don't. So she said, "Are you a type A personality, Bob?" And I said, "Yes, but I'm trying to work on my anus." So I said anus, and work on it, and I didn't realize that I'd put a pin in that. And you don't want to put a pin in your
No,
anus.
it's very painful. And
You'll let your air out,
and
you'll
it's
fly
techni-
around the room.
Technically an FCC violation. Well, anyway, you told the story, and it was really funny because When to See Live is, we try to be pretty sort of hip and of the moment, which if you're on broadcast television, that means that only your grandparents actually laugh at the jokes.
Nobody had to cut it, did they?
No, but in my ear, I'm wearing the earpiece, and in my ear they go, "Move on."
Oh yeah. Well, I wouldn't go further.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know what I would
they
have
were
said.
afraid because they know that you and I are working together, and they were like, push them,
Right.
move on.
Start with
Yeah.
that. Just anus is the beginning.
Yes, hey, the kid goes, but I mean, that's the point.
Well,
I'm like-
that's how I look at dates sometimes.
well.
Just for you. I did that just for you. I just wanted to give you that laugh.
I guess the real the question is, did you decide that you wanted to do the rougher comedy, which you were doing prior to booking Full House?
I started at 17 doing. I sang a song. I won a radio